All right, look, your season is over video comes out every Sunday. This is an unusual week. Week one of the college football season always is because you've got games on Sunday and Monday. So we had LSU and Southern Cal Sunday. We had Florida State and Boston College last night. So if you want to call this like an addendum to the week one, your season is over or whatever. But today we are going to point and laugh at both LSU and right there at Florida State. There's no intro. It's just be a little bit different here. We'll start with the corn dogs here because I feel like this will be a little bit shorter than what I have to say about Florida State. Let's get this hung up on the your season is over wall, unfortunately for our buddies, the corn dogs. God dang it. I don't know what I'm doing. Trust me. Actually, I do. I'm a professional. Hey. All right, we'll add this to the shit list. West Virginia, Virginia Tech, Houston, Florida, Clemson, Texas A&M, and now, of course, LSU. All apologies to the two Virginia fans that exist on planet Earth. Spoiler alert, Uncle Lou wears glasses and usually contacts. I had taken my contacts out before I filmed the Your Season is Over video on Sunday, and when I got ready to grab the helmets off the wall, and a lot of you pointed it out, I grabbed Virginia right here instead of Virginia Tech. They're right next to each other. I did realize my mistake as I was editing the video, but I was just too lazy to redo it. That's just all it is. That's on me. I apologize. 5-star dummy mistake for Uncle Lou. So again, all apologies to the two Virginia fans that exist on planet Earth. Now let's get back to the point of the video. LSU lost to Southern Cal. Now, first of all, this is not surprising to me. Even though LSU was favored, I didn't understand why. I'm updating my top 25. I usually update my top 25 on Monday. That was yesterday. We had a game yesterday, so I didn't do it. So I said, well, I'll do it today, Tuesday. I still might do it today if I have time. But one of the things I do early in the season when I'm updating the top 25, particularly week 0, week 1, it's a lot of when you're looking at it, you're like, okay, I was right about this, wrong about that. Right about this, wrong about that. LSU was way too high in every other poll. Obviously, so was Florida State. I don't really know why LSU was ranked as high as they were. Same for Florida State. But so even though LSU was favored odds-wise in the game, I picked Southern Cal to win, and I took Southern Cal on the points. I did not think LSU was going to be great this year. So as far as that goes, I was kind of right about that particular game. Here's the thing with LSU: you want to point and laugh at them, and okay, let's do some of that. They lost to Southern Cal. They couldn't get into the 20s against a Lincoln Riley defense. But here's where I start to pump my brakes a little bit. When I looked at this game, LSU and Southern Cal, I said, okay, what do we have here? And look, everybody, what happened last year doesn't matter. What happened last year doesn't count. I agree with that to an extent. But when you're early in the season, it's almost impossible to evaluate teams or try to even talk about or discuss teams without at least using the previous year as a reference point or a starting point, right? And so what did we know for certain? Not what we thought, not what we hoped, maybe as if you're an LSU fan or a Southern Cal fan, you hope this or you hope that. What did we know for a fact about LSU and Southern Cal heading into the season? We knew for a fact that they both had elite offenses last year. We knew for a fact that their two quarterbacks last year were the last two Heisman Trophy winners, Jaden Daniels and Caleb Williams. We knew for a fact that both teams lost those two quarterbacks. We knew for a fact that both of these teams had terrible defenses last year. Two of the worst defenses in the Power 5. That's a fact. That's what we knew heading into the season. We knew that Lincoln Riley has been a head coach at two major programs for about 8 years and has had a terrible defense every single year. Not bad, not below average, terrible. We knew that last year the problems with LSU's defense were mainly defensive line and secondary, and that they missed on almost every major portal target they went after this offseason to address those two issues. So there were some assumptions made about LSU and Southern Cal heading into the season based on those facts that are not arguable facts. Those are facts that we knew about last year heading into this year. There was some conclusions and some assumptions that were made. on my behalf, on my part, and by a lot of other people. Number one, both of these offenses are likely to take some step back in 2024 from what they were in 2023. Neither offense is likely to be bad, though. Let's start with Southern Cal in particular. Yes, Lincoln Riley lost a unbelievably talented quarterback and a Heisman Trophy winner. Well, guess what? It's the third time he's lost a Heisman Trophy winning quarterback. Every quarterback Lincoln Riley ever had has been an elite level NFL talent QB, period. So, I didn't doubt Southern Cal's ability, and more specifically Lincoln Riley's ability, to replace Caleb Williams with a extremely gifted, talented quarterback who was going to be really, really good. Caleb Williams level good immediately? No. You're not going to, Miller Moss wasn't going to play from day one as good as Caleb Williams was playing at the end of his college career. But you trusted Lincoln Riley, at least when it comes to quarterbacks, right? You look at LSU. They lost Jaden Daniels. You go, well, they got Nussmeier. He's played. We've seen Nussmeier play. We know he can't run around like Jaden Daniels, but he's got an NFL arm, makes great throws, maybe a better pocket passer, pure pocket passer than Jaden Daniels was. Not going to give you the excitement that Jaden Daniels did. Those are things we knew for certain, right? You look at the defensive side of the ball, you go, both teams bring in new defensive coordinators. You like both the hires, right? Can it make that big of an impact immediately? These are the things you wondered and the things you knew. Then the game gets played, and both teams struggle to score. Now, I know we live in an age of overreaction, and you can watch the first 10 minutes of a football game, and you know everything else that's going to happen the rest of the year involving that team, and whatever. I get it. Believe me. Every time I stream a game, whoever scores first in the game, immediately in the comment section, I get a million comments to go, well, this game's over. Such and such going to win by 100 now. And then more times than not, of course, that's not the case. So you watch this Southern Cal LSU game. Obviously, Southern Cal wins. Congratulations to Southern Cal. It's a good win for Lincoln Riley. LSU, that's their fifth straight opening season loss. LSU has not won their first game of the year since 2019. They lost in 2020. They lost in 21, 22, 23. And now in 2024. For Brian Kelly, he's been there 3 years. He's 0-3 in week one games. So these are some alarming trends when it comes to LSU, but specifically about this game. Neither team gets into the 20s. So the first question, at least that I found myself asking, and I live streamed the game, and a lot of people in the comment section, we were kind of all asking the same thing. Okay, what are we looking at here in this game? Are we looking at two horrifically bad defenses last year who immediately, right out of the gate, game one, next season, now all of a sudden have top-tier defenses because they are playing really well against what we assume to be a team with a really good offense? So you take LSU as an example. Southern Cal has had Lincoln Riley's had a good offense every single year he's ever been a head coach. By good, I mean great, top 10 offense almost every single year. So you're watching this game and you're going, is LSU's defense as good as it appears to be this 1 year miraculous turnaround? Or is this some kind of, is this the year we finally see a Lincoln Riley offense that's not fucking just out of this world? I don't know the answer to that. And the opposite is also true. What about Southern Cal's defense? I guess what I'm asking is, does anybody think these are bad offenses? Because I don't. So I think both of these teams have improved. I don't know if drastically, dramatically. I'm not sure what word you would want to use. Now, I'll sort of pump the brakes a little and say a lot of what we saw week one in college football was offenses struggling out of the gate. We saw it a lot. There was a lot of teams that we feel like are going to be powerful offenses that didn't look amazing in the first quarter or the first half, or in some cases, the first game. Take Oregon as an example. Scored 24 against Idaho. Anybody think Oregon's averaging 24 points a game this year? I don't. I think they'll score more. We'll see. Ohio State Started out slow. Second half was great. Georgia, only 6 points in the first half, 28 points in the second half. I could go on and on and on. Defenses appeared to be ahead of offenses as a general rule in week one of college football. Again, that doesn't mean for everybody. There were some offenses that looked great, some defenses that looked terrible, but just as a general broad stroke thing, in general, I think the defenses looked better early on, week one in college football, than the offenses did. Is that what we saw with LSU and Southern Cal? Are these two offenses going to be explosive and dynamic like we're used to seeing them be? In the case of Southern Cal, I tend to lean towards yes, just because I have seen Lincoln Riley do it year after year after year after year. With LSU, I'm a little more pessimistic about it, not because Brian Kelly has had terrible offenses, but he doesn't have the track record of replacing elite NFL level QBs year after year after year like Lincoln Riley does, right? He never really had any top end QBs at Notre Dame, and he's had Jaden Daniels since he got to LSU until this year. So we don't really know what LSU will look like offensively under Brian Kelly now without Jaden Daniels. Now, to be fair, we don't know what Southern Cal will look like with Miller Moss either, but we've got Lincoln Riley's track record that we can rely on to try to forecast what we think it might look like. So I come away from this game between LSU and Southern Cal, I think, a little bit more confused about each of those two teams than I was before I saw either one of them play. It was an exciting game, an amazing game. And if you want to get into like certain specifics, I thought Southern Cal against the run played really well. I think against the pass, they struggled at times. For LSU, that last drive from Southern Cal was kind of unacceptable. Like, the game is on the line. That's when you want a defense to step up. But again, they held a Lincoln Riley offense to 20 points, whatever it was. In other words, it's hard to look at either of these two teams. It's hard for me to look at Southern Cal defensively and not be at least a little bit impressed that they held LSU in the teens. Now, maybe we watch a few more weeks of football and it comes to be that LSU has some sort of terrible offense, but that would be very surprising to me. And the same thing for Southern Cal defensively. It's hard for me to just completely write off that defensive performance from Southern Cal. And you all watched the game like I did. I saw some blown coverages. I saw some missed tackles. Yeah, neither one of these defenses played perfect, and that's not what I'm saying. But LSU held Southern Cal to 20. Southern Cal held LSU in the teens. It's hard to say that either one of those defenses played bad. And believe me, heading into that game, I was fully prepared to come on video now afterwards and laugh at both of those defenses. The over-under in this game was in the 60s, and everybody took the over. People were expecting this game to be, 45-40, 48-44. It was shocking that the game was that low because the defenses were so bad last year and because the offenses were so good. So I hate being this way because I'm generally not. I usually come down on one side or the other of an issue, and I'm firmly in that camp 100%, and I'm right, and anyone else that agrees with me is wrong, and blah, blah. And I just can't do that with LSU and Southern Cal. I've tried. I've thought about it for 2 days now. This game was played Sunday night. I can't decide whether LSU and Southern Cal both have really good defenses or LSU and Southern Cal have both taken a drastic step backwards offensively, or if this is just yet another case of what we saw a lot of in week one, which is offenses slow out of the gate and defenses seemingly a little bit ahead of where most offenses are. I honestly don't know. All that matters right now is that LSU is 0-1 for the 5th straight year in a row. It's really hard to lose an opening week game 5 straight years. Now, to LSU's credit, they have played Power 5 competition in week one all 5 of those years. And that's not something you see every single team in the country do. In fact, most don't do that year after year after year after year. You go back, so it started in 2020. That was the COVID year. It was an all SEC schedule, no non-con games. So they lost an SEC game in week one. In 2022, they played, I believe, was it UCLA UCLA or Cal. It was a Pac-12 team. I think it was UCLA, and they lost. Now, that was a bad loss, but at least it was a Power 5 loss. And then in 2022 and 2023, of course, they played Florida State and lost both times. And now 2024, they take the loss to Southern Cal. So hats off, all credit to LSU for scheduling these big week 1 games that as college football fans, we all love to watch in week 1, right? How many 70-0 blowouts did we see in meaningless games in week 1? So all credit to LSU for scheduling these games, but you got to win some of them, buddy. It's a bottom line business. Great. Pat you on your head. We love what you're doing week 1 with the scheduling. You got to win some of the fucking games, dude. You can't start every single year 0-1. Now, 12-team playoff now, this is a non-conference loss, so you say, well, LSU still get into the playoffs, 11-1, and then make the SEC championship and win it. I didn't see anything from LSU Sunday night that makes me think they're getting anywhere near an SEC championship game or a playoff berth. And I'm going to be honest, even though Southern Cal started 1-0, that did not appear to me to be a playoff team either. So lots of football to go. I'm definitely not writing off either team. Obviously, technically, season not over for LSU or any of these teams on the wall. I've been over this a million times. So your season is over deal is just an analogy for your team lost yesterday. That's all it means. So don't get bent out of shape if you're LSU or Southern Cal. Clearly, these are, Southern Cal's in the Big Ten. LSU is in the SEC. Each of those conferences are likely to put 3 teams in the playoffs. So, of course, literally your season not over. But just talking about watching them play didn't appear to be a playoff caliber team to me. We'll see. Both these teams have a lot of tough games left on their schedule in conference. SEC for LSU, Big Ten for Southern Cal. But I don't know what to make of it. Brian Kelly's post-game press conference, typical Brian Kelly. Everything's the player's fault. They didn't do this. They didn't do that. They didn't execute. They weren't, they didn't come out ready to go, blah, 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 blah. He never takes any personal responsibility. Everything is always everybody else's fault. It's always been that way with Brian Kelly. Not saying he's a terrible coach. Not saying he's the worst coach on the planet. He's probably a top 10 coach in college football, top 15 at the worst. But that is one kind of negative aspect to me anyway. When it comes to Brian Kelly, it seems like he rarely takes any personal responsibility. And as long as you're the one cashing the biggest paycheck, then you need to shoulder some of that load, so start doing that. But LSU, boy, you lost to a old school Pac-12 team and / current Big Ten team in Southern Cal. Ran your mouth all off season too. Kind of like Florida State, but to a lesser degree. LSU fans were obnoxious this offseason. I don't know how much time y'all spent around LSU fans, but they were completely insane. We're winning the SEC. We're doing all this kind of stuff. No, you're not. Sorry. You couldn't score in the 20s against Southern Cal. I should have looked it up. I'd like to, in fact, fuck it. I'm just going to look it up right now. How many teams last year failed to score 20 points on Southern Cal? Just take a guess while I look it up. USC 2023. I should have had this ready to go. It just now popped into my mind, though. Southern Cal football schedule 2023. All right, here's how many points they gave up by week. 28. They only gave up 14 to Nevada. So that's about what you are, LSU. You're about Nevada. Or Stanford. They only gave up 10 to Stanford. Shout out LSU, the new Stanford. They gave up 28 to Arizona State, 41 to Colorado, 41 to Arizona. They gave up 48 to Notre Dame. Didn't Brian Kelly used to coach at Notre Dame? I think he did. Gave up 48 to Notre Dame. They gave up 34 to Utah. They gave up 49 to Cal. They gave up 42 to Washington. They gave up 36 to Oregon. They gave up 38 to UCLA. And then in the bowl game, for good measure, they gave up 28 to Louisville. So only 2 teams last year scored less points than LSU did against Southern Cal. And those 2 teams were Nevada and Stanford. So I guess that's about what you are, corn dog man. So to the LSU fans that had diarrhea of the mouth all off season is over. I guess we'll see you next February. That's LSU man's time to shine, the off season. All right, now on to the good stuff. Florida State is an absolute failure, dumpster fire. Helmets upside down. Why? I'm glad you asked. They got to win a conference game. They got to win a conference game. I mean, what in the world is going on? Look at this, boy. What's the old expression about throwing shit against the wall and see what sticks? Well, this all sticks. This all sticks right here. Florida State's got to win a conference game, and then their helmet will get turned back the right way. It's that simple. Clemson has to score a touchdown, something they've yet to do this season. South Carolina's helmet is upside down. They have to give up less than 3 sacks in a game. That's the helmets that are upside down right now. But Florida State, your season is over. Metaphorically speaking, for the purposes of this video, and realistically speaking, you may not make a bowl game. Florida State, this is probably the worst Florida State team Mike Norvell has had, and that's saying something because he's had some bad teams. But now that I think about it, Mike Norvell's a bad coach. He's not a good coach. I don't know who Mike Norvell's PR man. I talked about this a couple of weeks ago. Mike Norvell's public relations man is underpaid. He should be a millionaire. All these lies floating around about Mike Norvell being some kind of elite top-level coach. I started to fall for it. He's a quarterback guru, a quarterback whisperer. DJ Uiagalelei is worse at Florida State than he ever was at Oregon State or Clemson. He literally looks blind and slow out there. He looks like he can't see. Now, to be fair, it's not all his fault. Florida State's entire offense is a joke. One of the worst offensive lines in the Power 5. DJ's got no time to throw the ball. To Florida State fans complaining about not having a downfield passing game, y'all can't give DJ more than a second and a half. He's fucking swarmed over. I mean, no protection at all on pass plays. Time after time after time. So it's got to be a bunch of dink and dunk. So you don't really know, but they can't run the ball. I don't know if it's the running back's fault or not because that offensive line is so bad. I don't know that it matters who the running backs are. Wide receivers. The 2 or 3 times a game that DJ does actually make a good throw, the wide receiver drops the fucking ball. So it's easy to point at DJ because he's sort of the face of the team as the quarterback, right? And also because we've all been watching DJ play for 4 years and we all kind of saw what he was. But then you hear all the talking points. It's like, well, look, Norvell's going to turn him into this and turn him into blah, blah, blah. So you're like, okay, let's see. And then we've watched them play not once but twice now, and they are horrifically bad. It cannot be overestimated how bad Florida State is. It's making me question if Georgia, is Georgia Tech any good? Is Boston College any good? I'm not here to shit on Georgia Tech or Boston College. Those teams are undefeated. Florida State is winless. But holy shit, man. When I watched the Georgia Tech game, I was like, wow, Georgia Tech might be better than people think. Now, they still might be better than people think. But if they turn out to be better than people think, it's not going to be because they beat Florida State. And the same with Boston College. Boston College, brand new coaching staff, coaching their first game. Coached circles around Mike Norvell. Mike Norvell going for it on 4th down in the 3rd quarter in a 1-possession game on his own side of the field. With that offense, I don't understand. The defense isn't great, but it's clearly better than your offense. They've got the ball on like their own 40-yard line. They can't do anything offensively. They're only down 8 at that point. They go for it, and of course they don't get it. So then you give Boston College a short field instead of punting them back inside their 20 and at least making them drive down the field. So it's terrible coaching. It's terrible play calling. It's terrible talent evaluation when it comes to the portal. There is no culture or cohesiveness at Florida State. And this is Florida State and Mike Norvell's fault. You choose to build your team this way. This is what happens. It's feast or famine. Nobody, I won't say nobody, half the players on that team don't give a fuck about Florida State. They don't. Because they were playing for somebody else last year. Okay? So they don't care. On top of that, Mike Norvell gave the message loud and clear to Florida State players and any potential Florida State players that quitting is okay. Because look at how they handled last year's playoff selection, Orange Bowl, and the weeks and months that followed. That was a culture problem. We told you, people that were smarter than you told you that. And now look what you have. You've got you don't have a team. You've got a group of players that don't care about the coaches, that don't care about Florida State, that don't care about Doak Campbell Stadium, that don't care about the ACC. They don't care about anything but playing time. That's why they transferred to you. That's it. You've recruited okay. And I understand maybe in the first year or so relying heavily on the portal. This is Mike Norvell's 5th year. There should not be this number of transfers coming in and playing. If he's such a quarterback guru and talent and all that, he's been there 5 fucking years. Where's the quarterback that Mike Norvell scouted in high school, recruited, signed, has been coaching up for the last couple of years up under Jordan Travis, and is now ready to take the field as the starter. Where is that person? That person doesn't exist because Mike Norvell's not a quarterback whisperer. So what happens? Jordan Travis leaves. You look around, you go, well, shit. I've been here 4 years, but I don't have a quarterback ready to go. I guess we got to go to the portal and get DJ Ukulele. Was it going to turn water into wine? DJ's not very good, but to be fair to him, look, DJ, there is no scenario in which DJ could be a great QB. There's not. He doesn't have the talent, the potential, or the skill set to do it. He just doesn't. But there is a scenario in which DJ could be a successful QB. You know, a QB that throws the ball 15 to 20 times a game, 12, 13 for 20, something like that for 170, 180 yards with a really good offensive line and a ground game and some great possession type receivers and a really good defense that can hold teams in the teens and early 20s. And Florida State could win a bunch of games with DJ 27-17. There's a scenario out there like that exists. The problem is they don't have the good offensive line. They don't have the good running backs. They don't have the possession type receivers that can make a big catch when you need it. They don't have the defensive line that can get a sack on third and down when you really need it to force a punt and get the ball back for your offense. They don't have the secondary that can lock down wide receivers. They don't have the outside linebackers that can get to the QB or the inside linebackers that can stuff the run. They don't have any of that. They're devoid of talent. And that's Mike Norvell's fault. He's not a first-year guy. Mike Norvell did not walk into Tallahassee 8 months ago and inherit what's in that locker room. In fact, now that this is his 5th year, every single player in that locker room is a Mike Norvell guy. And that makes everything you are seeing Florida State do, or more importantly, what you're seeing them not do, that makes all of it 100% Mike Norvell's fault and responsibility. He's not a good coach. He has failed. Whatever it was he was trying to do, whatever his plan was, it has failed. And what we're seeing now is proof of that. Florida State does not have a good football program. And 5 years in, that's on the head coach. You walk into a bad situation, you get some leeway, you get some time, you get some benefit of the doubt year 1 and year 2. You're year 5, and Florida State has a terrible football program. That's on Mike Norvell. Florida State had a terrible football program last year. They just happened to have a really good team. That's what last year was. Florida State is not a good football program having a down year. They're a terrible football program who happened to have a good year last year. You're Michigan State 2021 or whatever, the Kenneth Walker year. You're a 6-win team that brought in Kenneth Walker, made a New Year's 6 game, and now you're back to not mattering. That's what happened to Michigan State. That's what's happening to you. And it's Mike Norvell's fault. 5 years he's been there. Every player on the team, handpicked by him. DJ, handpicked by him. Every high school recruit, handpicked by him. Every transfer portal player, handpicked by him. The culture, Mike Norvell's fault. The attitude and what you see on the sidelines, Mike Norvell's fault. Making it okay to quit on your team, your teammates, your fans, your university, Mike Norvell's fault. It's all Mike Norvell's fault. They're not a good program. They're a terrible program that had 1 good year last year. This is Mike Norvell's 5th year. It's going to be his 3rd with a losing record. He's going to be 5 years in at Florida State with a losing record 3 of the 5 years. He had a losing record in year 1, a losing record in year 2, and he's going to have a losing record in year 5. Check the schedule, dummy. You got a lot of losses. Here's what's scary if you're a Florida State fan. You look at Florida State's schedule, and the first 2 games on it look like 2 of the easiest games. And you lost them both. You had 9 days to prepare for this after already having played a game. That's a huge advantage over Boston College. Florida State got to play a game 9 days ago, see the problems they had, see the areas they needed to work on, see the improvements that needed to be made, tweak the play calling, tweak the personnel if you needed to, after already having learned a bunch of lessons from game 1. And they showed up at home on a Monday night with everybody watching and took a giant fucking shit in the middle of their own field. They're bad. They are beyond bad. And guess who's next up? I think they're on a bye week this week, but guess who comes to town after that? Memphis. That's right, the same Memphis that Mike Norvell used to work at. The same Memphis that right now has a better chance of getting to the college football playoffs than you do, Florida State. They're one of the favorites out of the group of 5 to potentially get to the playoffs this year. I'm not predicting them to do it. We'll see. But they're one of the favorites. Them, Boise, whatever, Liberty, Tulane, UTSA, whatever schools you want to name that you think are the favorites. They're in that list. And they're coming into Doak Campbell Stadium to whip your fucking ass. They're not afraid of the Power 5. They damn sure ain't afraid of Florida State. How are the lawsuits working out? Spent all off season suing everybody under the fucking sun. Sue your conference. Sue your TV partner. We want out of the ACC. Why? You can't win a fucking game in the ACC. And it's the worst conference on the planet. It's the worst Power 4 conference. And you cannot win a game. Why in the hell would you want to get out of there? It makes no sense. Makes no sense. I did the joke last week when y'all lost to Georgia Tech in Ireland where you're suing everything Irish. And I was going to do one today where you're suing everything from Boston. But last night during the live stream, the comment section did all the work for me. They just go back and reread the live. They're suing everybody. They're suing Boston Baked Beans, the Boston Celtics, the Red Sox. They're fucking everything associated with Boston. They're suing the Tea Party, the Boston Tea Party. They're suing Mark. Not only are they suing Mark Wahlberg, who of course is from Boston. Not only are they suing Mark Wahlberg, they're suing the entire Funky Bunch. Too. Shout out to people my age who actually know, well, what Marky Mark and the Funky Bunch is. But yeah, suing them too. They're suing everybody from the cast of The Departed. Of course, they're suing Ben Affleck and Matt Damon. Just anything related with Boston. You're getting sued by Florida State now. It's fucking insanity. The lawsuits and everything else. Florida State has made such fools of themselves over the last 7 or 8 months. It's hard to explain. It's hard to understand. And it would be sad to watch Florida State circling the drain if it wasn't so fucking funny. But it is funny, and it's because of the way your school has acted, your president, your athletic director, your head coach, your fans on the internet, all of them, everybody. Your ex-players, where's Keon Coleman? Does Keon Coleman want to run his fat fucking mouth anymore? Every time I turn around, Keon Coleman's got something stupid as fuck to say on Twitter about Georgia or the SEC or how great Florida State is. Where are you at, dummy? You got anything to say now? Holy shit. Do you even care? Here's the thing. Keon Coleman don't give a fuck about Florida State, do you, Keon? You don't care. Why would you? You don't care at all. You're a Michigan State man. You're not a Florida State guy. You're a fucking mercenary. But I guess you got a case of the fucking lockjaw now when it comes to Twitter. You ain't got no more dumb shit to say. Because Florida State can't win a fucking game. God damn, y'all are bad. I fucking hate y'all.